The door to a love you thought would never come. There's a reason you felt it, the quiet ache, the unanswered pull inside your chest, that unspoken whisper when the night goes still and your soul seems to ask, is there really someone out there meant only for me? If you're a Scorpio, this question hasn't just haunted you, it's defined your journey. Because for Scorpio, love has never been simple. It's not a light flirtation, not a fleeting romance. You crave a love so deep, so raw, it undoes you, then rebuilds you. You want a soul that sees past your armor, your silence, your survival instincts, and still says, I'm not afraid of your darkness, I've lived there too. But here's the secret no one told you. The reason you haven't found that love is because you were becoming it. And now this August, something is shifting. Not just in the stars, but in you. Because for the first time in years, Scorpio, you're not seeking love from desperation, you're radiating it from power. The cosmos is finally matching what you've been carrying all along. The heartbreaks, the solitude, the karmic endings, they weren't punishments. They were preparations. And if you stay with me through the end of this video, you'll discover 12 reasons, each one a spiritual mirror showing why August isn't just another month for Scorpio. It's the turning point, the portal, the beginning of the great love you were born to receive. But before we begin, let me ask you one thing. Do you believe, because what's coming next requires more than hope, it demands surrender? Reason 1. The cosmic alignment has finally shifted in your favor. Let me ask you something, Scorpio. Have you ever felt like you were born to experience a love so rare, so soul-altering, that ordinary relationships could never hold your spirit? Have you ever stayed up at night wondering why no matter how deeply you gave, how fiercely you loved people still walked away, or worse, misunderstood the very thing you were offering? If so, you weren't wrong. You were early. Because the truth is, love wasn't avoiding you. It was waiting for the universe to catch up with the version of you that could hold it. This August, that alignment finally arrives. For the first time in years, the stars are no longer challenging you, they're rewarding you. Pluto, your ruling planet, has finished tearing down the illusions. Venus, the planet of love, is shifting back into motion. The battlefield is quiet now. You've survived every emotional war, and now you're standing in the eye of something sacred. This isn't just astrology, it's architecture. The divine blueprint has been rewritten, and you, Scorpio, are no longer being punished for your depth. You're about to be chosen for it. A true story. A man I once met in Arizona, a Scorpio in his 40s, had lived most of his life without allowing anyone to truly know him. He was magnetic, successful, deeply intuitive. But when it came to love, he always pulled away at the moment it got too real. Until one night, in the middle of a desert storm, his car broke down. A stranger stopped. She was calm. She didn't flinch at his silence. She didn't try to fix him. She just sat beside him in the dark and said, I don't need to see everything inside you. I just need you to know I'm not afraid of it. They've been together ever since. And when I asked him why it worked finally after all those years, he said, because this time I wasn't waiting for the perfect person. I was finally ready to be seen. That's what August brings you. Not a fantasy, but a love that sees you fully and stays anyway. Life lessons, Scorpio. You were never meant to chase love. You were meant to become it. Every delay, every heartbreak, every lonely year was carving out the space where the real thing could finally arrive. Now that you're no longer hiding behind your strength, now that you've embraced your softness too, the cosmos isn't resisting you. It's making room for the one who has been searching for your exact frequency. This is not the month to run. This is the month to open your door. Because love is not coming in the way you expected. It's coming in the way your soul always knew it would. Reason 2. You have closed the door on old karma, Scorpio. For most of your life, you've carried wounds that weren't even yours. You've been the emotional graveyard for other people's guilt, pain, betrayal. You absorbed what they couldn't face. You forgave what they didn't even apologize for. And still you carried it with grace until your own spirit began to feel like a stranger in your body. But here's the truth that very few understand about you. You don't break, you burn. And when you burn, something inside dies forever. Not just pain, but patterns. In August, something profound is happening. You're not just ending a chapter, you are closing karmic contracts that have lived in your soul for lifetimes. You are no longer drawn to the same kind of love that hurt you. You are no longer addicted to emotional survival. And because of that, the universe has finally shifted your spiritual algorithm. Before now, you kept attracting people who needed healing, saving, fixing, because deep down you were trying to fix something in yourself through them. But now that cycle is over. You're not choosing chaos anymore. You're choosing clarity. You're not asking, will they love me? You're asking, do they know how to love someone like me? A real moment. There was a Scorpio woman I once counseled in California. Strong, successful, always giving until she hit a wall in her early 30s. She told me every man I've ever loved has needed saving, and I was drowning while trying to be their heir. One night she sat in silence and wrote a letter she never sent to her younger self. She wrote, "You deserved to be chosen, not tolerated. You deserved peace, not potential." That night, she deleted every contact that kept her tied to a version of herself that no longer existed. She cut cords, she cried until she couldn't speak, and the next morning, she didn't feel empty. She felt clean. 2 months later, love found her, but it didn't come with red flags or intensity. It came with ease. She said, "I didn't fall in love. I walked into it calm, awake, and finally ready." That's where you are, Scorpio. You've stopped bleeding for people who don't carry bandages, and now someone is coming who carries respect, not rescue. Life lesson: when you finally say no to karmic love, the universe says yes to sacred love. This isn't a reward, it's a reflection. You no longer belong to the past version of yourself who tolerated confusion, begged for breadcrumbs, or stayed loyal to dysfunction. You've done the soul work, you've closed the door, and in August, the next one opens. But this time, it doesn't open to chaos. It opens to peace, because love that is meant for you doesn't knock loud. It simply arrives and stays. Reason 3, a sacred mirror is approaching you in human form. Scorpio, the kind of love your soul has always craved is not about perfection, it's about recognition. You've never needed someone flawless. You needed someone who could see you, not just your surface, not just your silence, but the storm behind your eyes, and still not flinch. In August, someone is drawing closer. Not because they're chasing you, but because they've been walking the same internal path, mirrored in a different body, guided by a similar fire. This person is not here to complete you. They're here to reflect you. The choices you've made, the pain you've healed, the emotional armor you no longer hide behind. All of that has reshaped your spiritual frequency. And now the universe responds in kind by sending you a sacred mirror in human form. They may not arrive with grand gestures or poetic speeches. They might enter your life through quiet circumstances, an unexpected meeting, a passing conversation, a soft moment when you're finally not trying so hard. But when they do, there will be no confusion, because your spirit will recognize theirs instantly, not from this lifetime, but from before. A true encounter. I once spoke with a Scorpio man who had been through years of spiritual isolation. He wasn't cold, he was tired. Tired of giving more than he received. Tired of being the deep one in shallow waters. Then one night he attended a small event, a birthday party he almost skipped. He wasn't looking for anything, but when he sat across from a woman who looked him in the eyes and didn't look away, he said it felt like his soul exhaled for the first time in a decade. They didn't talk about careers, they talked about energy, about grief, about the feeling of being too much in a world that prefers numbness. Later he told me, She didn't make me feel seen because she tried hard. She made me feel seen because she understood what it meant to hide. That's the sacred mirror. And in August, Scorpio 1 is coming for you. Life lesson: real love doesn't arrive when you're trying to prove your worth. It arrives when you already know it. You've done the heavy lifting. You've cleared the noise. And now your energy no longer calls out to the wounded. It calls out to the awakened. This mirror will not save you. It will walk beside you, reminding you of everything you've become and everything you still have the power to experience. And when you meet them, there won't be sparks, there will be stillness. Because the loudest love is often the quietest. Reason 4: August tests. Your ability to receive, not just give. Scorpio, you've always known how to give. You give your time without being asked. You give your energy when others are drained. You give your love in ways so profound that most people don't even realize they're holding something sacred until they've already dropped it. But now the universe is asking a different question. Can you receive without fear? August doesn't come to test your generosity. It comes to test your capacity for vulnerability. For so long, you've tied your worth to what you offer others. But this month, someone will appear who wants to give something back, not just affection, but stability, support, peace, love that doesn't take more than it gives. And here's the hard part. You might be tempted to reject it, not because it isn't good, but because it feels unfamiliar. You've grown so used to proving your value that the idea of someone simply choosing you without needing to be convinced might feel like a trap. It's not. It's the shift you've been preparing for, a personal moment. There was a Scorpio woman I knew in Michigan, tough on the outside, brilliant in her work, fiercely independent. Everyone admired her, but very few truly knew her. One day, a man she'd known casually for years surprised her with something simple, a handwritten letter. No demands, no expectations, just truth. He wrote, "I know you're used to being the strong one, but if you ever get tired, I'll hold that weight with you. You don't have to carry everything alone anymore." She didn't know what to do. She said to me I wanted to run, not because he scared me, but because his kindness did. But she didn't run. She let herself stay, and in doing so, she began learning a new kind of strength, the strength to receive without apology. Life lesson, Scorpio: receiving love is not weakness. It's the reward for surviving everything that tried to convince you you'd never have it. This month isn't just about finding the right person. It's about recognizing when love arrives and not self-sabotaging the moment. Because you can be powerful and soft, you can be independent and open, you can protect your peace and still let someone in. In August, you'll be tested, not by chaos, but by grace. And when it shows up, I want you to remember this. You don't have to earn what is already yours. Sometimes the real lesson isn't how to give more, it's how to receive better. Reason 5, you've mastered the art of walking away. Finally, there was a time when walking away felt like failure to you, Scorpio. You held on, not because it was easy, but because loyalty was stitched into your DNA, even when it hurt, even when the energy was unreciprocated, even when every sign told you to let go. You stayed because you saw the potential. You stayed because you believed in their healing. You stayed because deep down you were afraid of what it would mean to leave empty-handed. But something changed this year. You didn't just let go of people. You let go of versions of yourself that accepted being misunderstood, unchosen, and half-loved. And that choice, that spiritual decision to choose your peace over their potential, that is why love can finally find you in August. Because when you walk away from what dims your light, you make space for what was always meant to ignite it. A real turning point. A Scorpio man I once guided in Texas had spent 5 years in a relationship where he was the emotional anchor, the one holding everything together. He thought staying meant strength. But one day he came home to find a note not from his partner, but from his own hand, something he had written months earlier in a moment of clarity and hidden behind a book on his shelf. It said, "You keep sacrificing yourself so they don't fall apart. But who's holding you?" He broke down. That night he packed a single bag and left, not out of anger, but out of truth. And in the months that followed, he didn't just find love, he found self-respect. He told me later, "I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew what I couldn't keep pretending to be." That's the kind of clarity you've now earned, Scorpio. You no longer stay to prove your love, you leave to protect your soul. Life lesson. There is power in staying, but there is freedom in leaving when your spirit has outgrown the space. Scorpio, you've mastered the art of surrender, not as weakness, but as a declaration of your worth. And now the universe no longer sees you as someone who settles. It sees you as someone who waits for alignment, because the moment you stopped choosing pain out of habit, you started choosing love from wisdom. And this August, that wisdom becomes your magnet. It draws in someone who doesn't need to be convinced. They just need to find you already standing in your power. Reasons solved. You're no longer chasing chaos. You're becoming the calm Scorpio. For much of your life, you were drawn to intensity, not because you loved the drama, but because it mirrored the fire within you. You didn't want surface love, you wanted the kind that cracked you open, the kind that felt like war and worship at the same time. But too often you mistook chaos for connection. You confused emotional turbulence with depth. Until now, because something inside you has shifted, you've learned that peace is not boring, it's sacred, and chaos, that's no longer your home. In August, your energy is magnetic, not because it's explosive, but because it's still. You've become the eye of the storm, the place people come to breathe, not to bleed. This new version of you doesn't chase intensity. You embody stability, and because of that, you attract someone who honors peace the way you do now. A quiet revelation. A Scorpio woman I knew in Oregon used to be known for her passionate highs and devastating lows. Her relationships felt like novels, exciting, tragic, and always short-lived. One day, she sat alone in her apartment, no music, no phone, just silence. And she realized something strange. She wasn't anxious. She wasn't waiting for a message. She wasn't rehearsing how to keep someone's interest. She was simply calm. She told me I never knew peace could feel this powerful. It scared me at first, but then I realized it was me. I had become the thing I was always looking for in someone else. And 3 weeks later, she met someone, not at a bar, not through a dramatic twist of fate, but at a bookstore. They spoke softly. They laughed easily. And for once, she didn't mistake gentleness for weakness. That's who you are now, Scorpio. You don't need love to shake your world. You need love that lets your soul rest. Life lesson. There's a difference between being desired and being respected. You've had the first, now you're ready for the second. Scorpio, when you stop chasing chaos, you make space for clarity. You stop begging for someone to choose you, and you start choosing yourself every day in every moment. And when someone new comes along, they won't have to fight to get your attention. They'll feel safe in your presence because you've become the one thing they never expected, peace in human form. In August, love will find you, not because you're louder, but because you're finally still enough to be seen. Reason 7. A secret admirer has been spiritually waiting for you. Not all love arrives with fireworks. Sometimes it waits. In silence. In stillness. In shadows just beyond your awareness, not because it's hiding, but because you weren't ready to see it. Scorpio, someone has been quietly orbiting your energy, not in obsession, not in fantasy, but in spiritual recognition. They've felt your presence in ways even they can't explain. They've met others, but no one held the gravity you carry. They've searched in places you've already outgrown. And yet, something keeps pulling them back to the idea of you. Why? Because this isn't just about meeting, this is about timing. And August is the first month where your soul and theirs are vibrating at the same frequency. This person may not even realize they've been waiting for you, but when your paths finally cross, there will be no doubt, because their spirit already knows yours. A quiet story. There's a Scorpio man I once knew in Seattle, reserved, brilliant, quietly intense. He never talked about his loneliness, but it lived in his eyes. For years, he convinced himself he was too complicated to be truly loved. What he didn't know was that someone, an old friend from his past, had always remembered him. She never said anything. She moved on, lived her life, even got married and divorced. But she never forgot the way he once looked at her like he saw something eternal. One day, 15 years later, they bumped into each other at a gallery. He didn't recognize her at first, but she remembered everything. He asked why she never reached out. She said, "Because you didn't seem ready, and I didn't want to interrupt your becoming." They've been together ever since, not because they chased it, but because love waited until both were whole. Life lesson, Scorpio: not all love is loud. Some love is patient. Some love honors your solitude. Some love waits in the background until your heart is ready to receive it fully, without defense, without fear. August isn't just a month of discovery. It's a month of reunion, of two souls finally stepping into each other's light without shame or shadows. So if you feel something or someone stirring in your dreams, in your instincts, in your sudden moments of reflection, trust it. You are not imagining it, you are remembering it. And they've been waiting for the version of you who finally believes, "I am not too much, I am exactly enough." Reason 8, you're aligning with your true sexual and emotional power. Scorpio people often misunderstand your intensity. They see your sensuality, your magnetic presence, your gaze that seems to look straight through skin and into soul, and they assume it's all about control, seduction, mystery. But they rarely understand what's behind it: vulnerability. Because your sexuality isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's energetic, it's sacred. And for the first time in a long time, perhaps in your entire life, you're finally reclaiming that power for yourself. Not to manipulate, not to attract the wrong kind of attention, but to connect with someone who knows how to handle the full spectrum of who you are. This August, your energy is no longer fractured. Your emotional depth and your physical passion are moving in unison, which means you're no longer attracting lovers who only want pieces of you. You're drawing in someone who is ready to receive all of you: the fire, the fear, the softness, the silence, the storm. A real awakening. There's a Scorpio woman I worked with in Colorado, deeply intuitive, emotionally intelligent, and stunningly powerful. But every relationship she had left her feeling either objectified or emotionally starved. She kept attracting partners who wanted her body but couldn't hold space for her soul. Until one day she stopped asking, "Why do they always leave?" and instead asked, "Why do I keep inviting those who are only ready for half of me?" That shift changed everything. She stopped dimming her light. She stopped shrinking her emotions. She began honoring the truth that her sensuality was a gift, not something to be performed, but something to be shared with reverence. Months later, she met a man who didn't rush her, who didn't pressure her, who looked at her like she was a cathedral, not a conquest. She said, "For the first time, I feel like being desired doesn't cost me my dignity." That's what you're aligning with now, Scorpio. A love that doesn't just touch your skin, but awakens your entire nervous system with safety, not survival. Life lesson: when you stop using your sensual power to earn love, you begin using it to build love. Scorpio, you are not too much. You are a whole universe wrapped in one body. And anyone who cannot meet you at that level doesn't belong in your orbit. This month, you're not seducing love. You're magnetizing it by simply being your unapologetically raw, emotionally intelligent, and spiritually sensual self. Because when you stop offering fragments of who you are, you invite someone who's been waiting to meet your whole being. Reason 9. August's full moon is writing your love prophecy. There's something about the full moon that Scorpio feels more deeply than most. While others see romance or ritual, you feel the truth behind the light, the unveiling, the exposure, the silent contracts between souls. And this August, under the glow of the full moon, something ancient awakens for you. Not in your mind, not in your body, but in your spirit. This full moon is not just a celestial event. It's a spiritual signature marking the end of who you thought you had to be, and the beginning of who you truly are in love. For years, Scorpio, you've written love stories in the dark. You've fallen for shadows. You've merged with people who couldn't hold their own light, so they fed on yours, but no more. Because this moon carries something different. A prophecy written just for you. It's the energetic moment when the universe stops testing your capacity to endure and begins revealing your capacity to receive something destined. A lunar shift. I remember speaking with a Scorpio man in Maine, someone who had gone through a deep emotional purge the year before. He told me that for months he felt like a ghost in his own life. Nothing moved him, nothing touched him. Then during a full moon in August, he sat alone by the ocean. No distractions, no phone, just the sound of waves and his own breath. He said, "For the first time, I wasn't asking the moon for anything. I was listening." That night, he dreamt of a woman he had never met. She had eyes like winter and a voice that called his name without sound. 2 weeks later, he met her at a cafe. They spoke once, and that was enough. He told me it didn't feel like I was beginning something new. It felt like I had just returned to a promise my soul had made long ago. That's what this August brings, Scorpio. A return to a contract you forgot you signed. Life lesson: there are moments in life that rewrite everything, not because they're dramatic, but because they align so precisely with your essence that you can't unfeel them. August's full moon doesn't bring chaos. It brings clarity. It reveals what's been waiting in the spiritual wings, a love that honors your evolution. So don't just wish on this moon, don't beg it to fix you. You're already whole. Instead, let it show you what's already been written in the stars, in the stillness, and in the quiet power of your becoming. Because when Scorpio is ready, love doesn't need to be chased. It finds you in the light. Reason 10. The phoenix in you is ready to trust again. Scorpio, no other sign understands the death and rebirth cycle quite like you. You've burned, you've crumbled, you've risen over and over again. But while your strength has always been admired, there's a part of your journey no one talks about what it costs to trust again. You've loved people who weaponized your vulnerability. You've opened your soul only to be met with silence, betrayal, or abandonment. And every time you told yourself, next time I'll be smarter, colder, stronger. But here's the truth. You were never weak for trusting. They were simply unworthy of the gift. And now, after all the fires you've walked through the phoenix in you, your highest self is finally ready to trust again. Not recklessly, not blindly, but consciously. Because now you know what love should never feel like. And that clarity, that's your protection. A story of rebirth. A Scorpio woman I met in Atlanta had been through betrayal so deep, she shut down emotionally for nearly 3 years. She dated but never let anyone in. She smiled but never let herself soften. Then one night during a meditation retreat, something broke open inside her. Not in pain, but in clarity. She said, "I realized I had built walls so strong that even love couldn't reach me." She cried for hours. Not because she missed anyone, but because she missed herself, the version of her who believed in connection, in possibility, in being held without fear. When she came home, she didn't rush to find someone. She focused on being someone who could love again fully but honestly. And when love finally came knocking, it didn't knock her down, it met her eye to eye. Life lesson, Scorpio. You weren't meant to stay guarded forever. You were meant to transform pain into discernment. Trust isn't about forgetting what hurt you. It's about no longer letting it define you. You've evolved, you've shed skins, and now you're no longer afraid of intimacy. You're afraid of wasting it. But this month, you're not being asked to surrender your safety. You're being asked to welcome what matches your truth. Because the phoenix doesn't rise just to soar. It rises to choose who's worthy of standing beside the fire. And Scorpio, someone worthy is coming. Reason 11. A spiritual contract is about to be fulfilled. Scorpio, not all love stories begin in this lifetime. Some began long before you were born, in dreams you forgot, in lifetimes you don't consciously remember, but your soul remembers. And now, after years of preparation, healing, and becoming, that soul contract is ready to be fulfilled. You didn't come to this world just to survive heartbreak. You came here to reunite with a presence that would recognize you without introduction. And in August, that moment draws near. The synchronicities increase. You feel it in your chest at odd hours, like a pulse that doesn't belong to your body, but to your destiny. The universe isn't teasing you, it's positioning you. Because spiritual contracts aren't about timing you can control, they're about frequency you must align with. And Scorpio, you're finally aligned. A story from another thread. I once guided a Scorpio man from Vermont, an old soul, reserved a man of few words but deep waters. He shared with me that he kept dreaming of the same woman for over a decade, not vividly, not romantically, but always the same feeling: calm, peace, a silent familiarity. He didn't even believe in soulmates, until one day in a city he never planned to visit, he sat next to someone on a train. She didn't speak at first, neither did he. But when they looked at each other, everything went still. Not loud, not passionate, just recognition. Later, when he tried to explain it, he said, "It wasn't that I knew her, it was that I remembered her, like she had always been with me somehow." That's what soul contracts feel like. And one of your Scorpio is ripening now. Life lesson: not all love is earned in this life. Some are returned from the last. You've done the internal work. You've broken karmic cycles. You've shed every skin that no longer serves your evolution. And now the universe responds not with noise, but with divine precision. This isn't just romance, this is sacred return. When it arrives, you won't question it. You'll feel the truth in your body, in your bones, in the quiet between your thoughts. And in that moment, you'll know this isn't the start of something new, it's the completion of something holy. Reason 12. This is the last portal before destiny shifts. Scorpio, not every month carries the same spiritual weight. Some months pass quietly like whispers in the dark. But then there are moments, rare cosmic moments, where the universe opens a door, not to test you, not to confuse you, but to see if you're truly ready to walk into everything you've asked for. August is that moment. This is not just a window of opportunity, it is a portal, a turning point so deep that if you step through it, your entire relationship with love, trust, and purpose will never be the same. But here's what makes this portal so sacred: it won't stay open forever. You've come to the edge of a timeline that will either repeat what you've already endured or birth what your soul has secretly prayed for since before you had words to name it. This isn't about being perfect, this is about being awake. Because if you blink, if you hesitate out of fear, you may miss the one chance that was always meant for you, not later, not eventually, but now. A story of alignment. A Scorpio woman in New York once told me about the moment she realized her life was changing. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was an ordinary Wednesday. She had canceled a date, she felt drained, uninspired, and then walking home, she passed a street she'd never noticed before. Something in her pulled her down that path. 2 blocks later, she walked into a small cafe and met someone who would alter the trajectory of her life. They weren't flashy, they didn't come with fanfare, but the conversation, it felt like home. She told me I almost didn't go. I almost stayed in bed. I would have missed everything. That's how portals work. They don't demand, they invite. Life lesson, Scorpio. You are standing at the edge of transformation. Everything you've been through, every heartbreak, every loss, every sacred silence has led you to this moment. This August is not just another page in your story. It's the chapter where everything turns. Will you trust it? Will you step through with open eyes and open heart and the courage to finally receive what is yours? Because fate won't force you, but if you choose to meet it halfway, love will not just find you, it will recognize you, and it will stay. Conclusion: the love you were always meant to receive, Scorpio. If you've made it here, then something inside you already knows. This isn't just another monthly message. It's a mirror, a reflection of everything your soul has endured and everything it's preparing to embrace. You've loved with no guarantee of being loved back. You've healed wounds you never received apologies for. You've carried pain so deeply that even silence became a kind of prayer. But through it all, you never stopped evolving. And that's what makes this August different. This isn't about luck, it's not about chance. It's about alignment between who you are now and the love you're finally ready to hold. You're no longer calling in chaos. You're no longer seeking validation. You're no longer mistaking intensity for intimacy. You've become the version of yourself that no longer begs the universe to deliver love, but simply opens the door when it arrives. So now, the question returns. Do you believe that after all the endings, all the silences, all the lonely nights spent wondering if anyone would ever truly understand you, that love could still be written in the stars? And that it could be written for you? Because if you do, then this isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new timeline, one where you don't just survive, one where you are seen, chosen, cherished, and held without conditions, one where love doesn't test your strength, it honors your softness. Life wisdom to carry forward. Love is not the reward for your pain. Love is the natural consequence of your awakening. You didn't come to this world to repeat cycles. You came to break them. And now that you have the right soul is being guided to you, not because you need saving, but because both of you are finally ready to share the light you each fought so hard to earn. So let go of the fear. Stand in your truth. And when the signs appear, don't question them. Follow them, because the love you've been waiting for has been waiting for you too. Final words. Stay on the path. If this message found you, Scorpio, it wasn't by accident. Something in your spirit is awakening. Something you thought was gone. Hope. Trust the belief in a love that truly sees you. It's stirring again. And if it resonated with you, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. Here on the path to Buddha wisdom, we don't chase surface truths. We walk deep into the soul. We honor the pain. We celebrate the rebirth. So if you feel called, subscribe to this channel, not for me, but for you, so that every time your heart forgets what it's worth, you have a place to return to, because this journey isn't over. The love story of your soul has many chapters left, and the next one, it begins with you choosing to believe again.